Goedemorgen, NX.
Good morning, NX. It's another beautiful day in the tulip capital of the world. I'm Jeff Cross.
And I'm Nicole Oliver. How was your Thursday, Jeff?
Oh, it was great. I fell asleep in my windmill.
Again?
Yeah, it was a beautiful evening.
Well, we've got an exciting show for you all today. This morning, we'll be diving deep into one story making headlines across the country, NX agents. From what improvements have been made recently to what features are hitting your NX Cloud instance soon, we'll be covering NX agents from every angle. That story begins now. Jeff, I believe you've been investigating changes to agent assignment rules in NX Cloud?
That's right, Nicole. When it comes to CI, we all know there's no one-size-fits-all machine type that works best for every task. Fortunately, the folks on the NX agents team have come up with a way to make sure you're always using the best machine for the job, whatever the job. They call it assignment rules. Now, instead of scoping a launch template based only on the size of the change, you can choose the best resource class based on the project or target and leave the rest to NX. Consider your typical distribution config file. We have our dynamic chain sets defined at the top, instructing NX Cloud on how many agents to use, from the tiniest documentation adjustment to dependency updates that affect every project. Below that, we've defined our assignment rules. Now, Nicole, you can use any combination of target, project, and configuration to specify a rule.
Yeah, right.
Okay, this rule ensures the App1 production build will always run on a Linux large resource class. This rule insists that any task with a test or test.js target will run on a Linux medium or large with parallelism specified for each. Did you get that, Nicole?
Parallelism?
Exactly. The syntax also supports glob pattern matching. This rule demands that all targets that begin with E2ECI will run on Linux large.
So that's how you catch all of those atomizer tasks, huh?
That's right. Next time you run CI, you'll see agent steps organized by launch template, and the CI pipeline execution analysis shows you exactly how the assignment rules were applied. I tell you, Nicole, there's nothing worse than running E2E tests on Linux medium.
Okay. Assignment rules aren't the only improvement to NX agents' performance that the NX Cloud team has shipped recently.
That's right, Nicole. In fact, our field reporter, Rajesh Matai, is on scene at a local CI storm, ready to give us some updates.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Nicole. I'm here live from NX Agentsville, where, as you can see behind me, the winds of slow CI are starting to build up at an alarming rate. I just came out of a meeting with the mayor, where I've been personally briefed a few minutes ago on what changes have been made behind the scenes to NX agents to make sure that no one is ever caught in the middle of a slow CI storm like this ever again. One such example is Docker registry mirroring. Docker builds require a lot of base images to download when you build them. And this constant back and forth between each and every agent and Docker Hub on each one of your pull requests can not only add up a lot of time spent downloading these huge images, but you can also run into rate limiting by the registry provider itself. On our single tenant deployments, we now wrap your agents cluster with an internal Docker mirror, where we cache any image your agents have previously requested. Once it's there in the local mirror, any follow-up download will be much faster since it's all local in the cluster. This also guarantees you'll never be rate limited. Another example is that on most CI providers, we're used to just running our steps one after another on each agent, installing node modules. Then once that's done, installing Rust, then setting up our end-to-end browsers. All this repetitive work is just wasted compute that we unfortunately have to do before we can start running our actual NX tasks. In NX agents, there's now a flag to allow you to group these steps together and run them in parallel to better take advantage of those available CPU cores. You'd be surprised, but parallelizing work at the machine level in this way, even if it saves you a few seconds per CI run, usually it saves you like 30, 60 seconds, is compounded into hours of monthly saved compute time. Again, the goal is to make sure that when an agent is running, it spends most of its time testing the actual changes you made to your code. The goal is to reduce wasted and idle agent time. In that vein, did you know that NX agents themselves use NX replay and caching to exchange completed build artifacts between them? That's actually how everything gets replayed back to your main agent. But for some especially large workspaces, all this time spent downloading can add up. Now, instead of downloading each completed task result one by one from the remote bucket, we'll start as many of these available downloads as we can in parallel, reducing the time dependent tasks are waiting on them. Again, for some very big workspaces, this seemingly small optimization has drastically reduced agent idle time. All these changes came out of real investigations with real teams using NX Cloud. Once we make sure they work, they're publicly released so everyone can start benefiting from them. Okay, that's it. It's probably not safe for me to be outside anymore. This has been Raresh with NX News. Back to you, Nicole.
It looks like a real rager out there.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to get caught in that. Speaking of behind-the-scenes improvements, we had another report coming in from field reporter Heidi Gruder on NX Cloud's new Workspace Data Caching feature. Let's take a look.
Work. We all hate it. But what's worse than work? Slow work. We're here with real-life developer Frank Cash to find out how problematic the problem probably is. Frank, so nice to see you again. So Frank, walk me through what happened yesterday.
So I started up a new CI run for a pull request, and everything looked like it was going fine. Everything was normal. But then edX had to generate the project graph from scratch.
And how long did it take?
25 seconds. 25 seconds every single time. And don't get me started on my agents. I don't have that kind of time.
But Frank, NX Cloud can cache your workspace data and cut down the time dramatically.
Well, how come it doesn't do it for me?
It should have. It's enabled by default.
Okay, yeah. I forgot I had disabled it on my workspace as a joke and forgot to re-enable it.
We've all been there. But what if we didn't have to?
So I re-enabled Workspace Data Caching, and now NX does what you'd expect. It uploads the workspace data at the end of every CI run, so next time an agent spins up, it just downloads the graph and generates from a warm get graph instead of having to do it from scratch.
And
CI startup time went from about 25 seconds to 6 seconds after I fixed it.
just by caching the workspace data?
Just by caching the workspace data.
But what actually gets cached? What doesn't? And how does it work behind the scenes?
NX Cloud caches project graph construction, file map creation, and Crystal plugin analysis.
It's a new day for anybody that cares about making CI faster. From San Francisco, California, I'm Heidi Gruder.
Nicole, am I hearing that right? Frank turned off workspace caching as a joke?
I believe that's right, Jeff.
Okay.
We've got an update now that you're going to want to stay tuned for. It's the refreshed agent visualization.
Is this just a superficial upgrade? I don't need my agents to look any shinier.
No. The agent utilization visualization is now the go-to resource on your CI pipeline execution's health after it's been completed. You can look at which tasks ran on which agents at what time, which ones ran in parallel, and how long they took.
Tell me more, please, Nicole.
Sure, Jeff. The agent visualization can now help you identify bottlenecks where agents have excessive idle time. Let's look at an example. Here we see timelines for each agent that ran. If you're using NX agents, you'll see agent setup steps in gray, and all the blocks in blue are where the agent was executing tasks. In this case, we see that all the agents were idle for a long period of time toward the beginning of the execution. This may indicate that we need to break up projects or reconfigure dependencies. We can see that we want to break down this task here into smaller tasks, or maybe recombine separate commands which run sequentially into one command so that non-dependent tasks can fill up some idle time. You can also use this visualization to judge if you need to allocate more or less agents via dynamic change sets.
Okay.
You can also see hung tasks. If any tasks are assigned to agents but not completed, they'll be highlighted on the agents in yellow, letting you narrow in on which tasks may be eating up memory in CI.
Oh, memory issues are the worst. I had something to say about that, but I forgot what it was.
Sounds like you might need to size up your resource class, Jeff. Anyway, this is the type of feature that NX Cloud can uniquely provide because NX integrates so deeply with your code base. You know, Jeff.
Yeah, Nicole?
We've mentioned dynamic change sets a few times in this special. It's what allows NX Cloud to scale the number of agents used based on the size of the change. It's undeniably helpful for scaling your CI.
Uh-huh.
But imagine a world where NX Cloud intelligently decides how many agents to use. I don't want to have to go and adjust the number of agents used as my repository grows and changes. That's what we have AI for.
Ooh, AI.
Well, the NX Cloud team is making it a reality. With AI-based resource allocation, you'll be able to optimize for speed and cost and leave the rest to NX Cloud.
Finally. When will I be able to switch it on for my organization?
The NX team is beta testing the feature internally and expects to be able to open it up for customers to try out in the middle of this year. If you're interested in testing with us, reach out to your enterprise DPE or NX Cloud support at narwhal.io.
And finally, a story from the future.
The future?
That's right, Nicole, the future.
Well, what's it have in store, Jeff?
I'm glad you asked, Nicole. These days, you can't walk 20 feet without passing a laptop computer. But what do those computers actually do when we're not clicking and pressing at them? The answer? Not a whole lot, but that's about to change. Enter NX Local Agents. NX Local Agents takes the magic of NX Agents, but lets you use unused laptop CPU as a CI agent. No more sending your hard-earned CI budget to AWS and Jeff Bezos. Send a fraction of it to your electric company instead. Now, the cloud is the backup when local agents aren't available. That sounds pretty good to me, Nicole.
Yeah, how much of a cost difference are we talking about here, Jeff?
Well, I spoke to NX CTO Victor Savkin, and according to him, the customers they vetted this with are estimated to reduce their cloud CI spend by 2 to 3x, depending mostly on how much local compute they have available. For example, a customer with 120 developers running 10,000 CIPEs per month could reasonably cut their cloud spend in half just with the idle dev machines they already have.
Wow, that's pretty significant. So how can folks start using local agents?
Well, hold on, Nicole. You're going to have to wait a few months. And it's only for NX Enterprise customers. The NX Cloud team says to reach out if you'd like to be part of the beta.
Sounds great, Jeff.
Thanks for saying that.
Well, that certainly was a whirlwind tour of NX agent features, Jeff. I feel a little bit like a windmill myself right now.
Me too. I think we're going to fit in at Kokenhof when we visit.
I agree. Well, still ahead on Good Morning NX, we're keeping a close eye on a group of local squirrels who are using NX Cloud's distributed caching to revolutionize how they store nuts for the winter.
And if you're planning your weekend, don't go anywhere. Victor has your full weather forecast and it's looking cloudy with a chance of distribution.
That and more, just after the break. Stay with us.